Welcome to the Little Likac Podcast. My name is Amanda and I'm coming to you from Derby in the United Kingdom, and this is a podcast all about knitting, crochet and other yarny goodness. You are very welcome. Today I have got quite a lot of things to share with you and to talk to you about, and I'm going to talk about things that have happened to me this week at the end of the episode, which is actually going to include something that I found very exciting, where I got to be part of a TV programme, but I'll tell you all about that at the end. Because today I want to focus, the first thing I want to focus on is knitting socks for men. I have mentioned before that my husband likes his hand knit socks, and now my daughter's boyfriend as well is also very keen on them. So I have knitted a few pairs of socks for men in the past, but it's not something that I do all the time. However, my husband has been hinting very much so that he is only really wearing hand knit socks that I've knitted him, and that also now he's beginning to wear through some of his socks. So I went to my stash, and if you are a regular follower of the podcast, you'll know that I've actually been trying to work through quite a lot of my commercial sock yarn. And I do tend to use commercial sock yarn for my husband, though he has got one pair of socks in hand dyed yarn, but he doesn't seem to wear those as much. So I'm also going to talk to him about maybe me dyeing some more yarn that might be more masculine, male orientated, and get some input from him as to kind of what colours he'd like, etc. But anyway, so basically, cut a long story short, I didn't feel I had a lot of sock yarn in stash that were sort of suitable for him, I say more masculine colours. I go for a lot of pink, purple, lilac, more feminine colours, and I am very aware of, that obviously you wear whatever colours you like, but the colours that I wear are not the kind of colours that he wears. So back in January, beginning of January, I did buy 2 balls of sock yarn, which I'll show you again now, but I did also, though, over the last couple of weeks, I kind of went to, I went a little bit crazy and bought a lot more sock yarn that are going to be put aside for socks for my husband. So as I say, more his colours than mine, perhaps more masculine colours than the colours I would wear. So let me show you first the 2 balls of sock yarn, or actually, yeah, 3 balls of sock yarn actually that I had already purchased with my husband in mind. So I actually have here all the sock yarn that I've put to one side for my husband in this nice basket. As I say, there's a few of these you have seen before, then I'm going to show you the ones that I have bought recently. So this one is one that I bought back in October, November time, and it is a Christmas colourway from West Yorkshire Spinners' signature 4-ply, and it is the Nutcracker colourway. And this was one that I considered knitting for him for Christmas 2024. But I actually asked you guys to vote, and you voted for, and it was a very, very close vote, and in the end the other colourway that I had, which was the Yuletide colourway, was the one that won. So this is a sparkly yarn. It's West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply, which is, what is the official makeup? 75% wool, 25% polyamide, and most British sock knitters will be probably quite aware of this yarn, that it is a good workhorse sock yarn. Workhorse, kind of this idea that it's relatively hard wearing. Having said that, my husband has worn through a pair of socks. That's the first pair that he has worn through, and it is West Yorkshire Spinners that has worn through. So anyway, so this Nutcracker is a sparkly one that is definitely going to be for a pair of socks for my husband. Another one that I had bought already prior to this, I bought this back only in January, and this is an opal yarn, and this is how this one will knit up, and the colourway for this is 4054, and I seem to recall that I did actually find out what this meant, the translated it, but I can't remember what it was. So the colourway, can I find the colourway name? No, maybe it wasn't this one that I had looked up. So it's just 4054. There is, I think it is one that is inspired by artwork. So this colour is inspired by that piece of artwork, but I can't work out what the name is of that piece of artwork. So apologies for that. Anyway, but in variation with, so I'm guessing in collaboration with Hunted Vassers Werk. And it also says Abschied aus Afrika. So I think this is maybe African art that this is inspired by. Anyway, you can see it has got red, blues, yellows. I think it is actually going to stripe, if you look at that. If you did some other kind of maybe funky sock pattern, you might get that effect. But I will just be doing something like that. All of these sock yarns are 4-ply or fingering weight, as it's known in America. I do seem to be a bit croaky today. I have had such a busy week, but I'll tell you all about that at the end of the podcast. So I am a bit croaky. I will keep pausing to cough. I will keep pausing to have a drink of water. I always edit those bits out, but so just in case I look like I kind of suddenly moved positions, that may be why, because I've edited out me coughing, or I've edited out me having a drink of water. Right, okay, and the last one that you had already seen, this one. And the only problem with using a basket is that the yarn gets caught. I need to line this basket. This one is a Rico one. I've not knitted a pair of socks with Rico before. This is Rico Superba Fair Isle. And again, it is a striping colourway. The colourway number is 005. And again, we have got blues, reds, greens and grey this time. So that is another one. Then I went on to Wool Warehouse. Well, basically I just sort of searched looking for some more commercial sock yarns. I thought, not necessarily West Yorkshire Spinner, let's look at and see what else there is out there. And because I knew I wanted to buy, you know, more than just one skein, I thought, let's see if I could find anything on sale or reduced, and then obviously as well to buy enough to get the free shipping. So I ended up on Wool Warehouse because they did have some colours of a couple of sock yarns in their sort of sales section, so that's why I went there. And these are the other yarns that I picked. So we have James C. Brett Funny Feets. Now I have knitted, I'm pretty sure I have got a pair of socks that I have knitted in this before. So this colourway is FZB15. I don't think they've got colourway names. And you can see this is blues and greens and cream. And now the Funny Feet one has got bamboo in it as well. So it is 400 metres. It's 50% superwash wool, 25% polyamide and 25% bamboo. So I'm sure that I have knitted at least one pair in these before, although I can't remember which. So yeah, I thought those were nice colours, and he seemed quite happy with those. Now there is a second pair in here that is, or second skein in here that is Funny Feet as well, James C. Brett. So it's the same makeup, and this time, I'm going to get it so you can see the colours nicely. So this time we've got greens, an olive green, a bright green, sort of some beige, and a little bit of flash of yellow as well. With both of these, there's nothing on the side that shows you how they knitted up. I did try and look up and sort of see, and some of them were wider stripes than others. I really can't remember with these two. And again, though, I just kind of went, well, they're for the husband. It's not necessarily about what I would want or how I would like it. It's, you know, more about just the colours. Yes, so I got those two. Did I say the colourway number for this one? This one is, no, FZB22. Okay, so those were all the Funny Feets. Then there were also Stylecraft. The Stylecraft sock yarn is called Head Over Heels, and I have used that as well in the past, and it's absolutely fine. So these don't have bamboo. So one of the ones that I selected, one of the ones that I selected, and again I think this was in the reduced section, is a head over heels style craft, Walking in Nature, and this is designed by Stuart Hilliard, who you may have heard of. He, I believe, won the Great British Sewing Bee a few years ago. He's quite a big quilter. He has had a couple of Stylecraft head over heels yarns before, the Pride ones, and I've definitely knitted with those. So this one's called Walking in Nature, and the colourway is 3231, and it's Saunter, and this is how this one will knit up. So we've got kind of like a russety brown, more of an amber, a beige, and then we've got these creams which will sort of have the Fair Isle effect, and plain cream. So I thought those were really nice actually, kind of different colourway, and yeah, browns this time rather than greens and blues. Then I think that was the, oh no, there's another one which is also a Stuart Hilliard Walking in Nature. So this one, blues, greens, it's got a bit of brown, and it has got a little bit of purple. I'm not sure how well you can see that. It has got a tiny bit of purple in it. So this colourway is a Swagger, and it will knit up like this. So yeah, happy with that. Oh, are they all Walking in Nature? Yes, they are all Walking in Nature. So here's the next Walking in Nature one. Now this does have a little bit of pink in it, but just very small amounts, and in fact you'll see it will knit up like this. So it has got some little bits of pink. This one is called Stroll. It's predominantly sort of like orange, and then again it's got some cream with flashes of green, some sort of bluey purples, green, and as I say, just little bits of pink. And then the last one, this is the one that I was kind of least sure about, but I decided to throw it in anyway. Definitely not my colours, but you know, as I say, this is not about me for once. So again, head over heels, Walking in Nature. This shade is a 3235, and it is Sachet. And this is how this one knits up. So there's actually quite a lot of grey, orange, yellow in it as well, red. As I say, definitely not my colours, but yeah. So this was one that I think I took it out of the basket, put it back in, took it out, put it back in, and as I say, I wanted the free shipping, so ordered that one as well. So I hope you'll agree that these are all quite cool colours. And so I ordered all those, and then I went to Nibbles, Needles and Hooks the next day, and I thought I will just have a look at their sock yarn as well. And I knew that I did quite like the bird range. So West Yorkshire Spinners have a whole range of sock yarn that are, the colours are inspired by different birds of Britain. So what I actually did was I took a picture and sent the picture to my husband and said, would you like to choose one of these? And he chose the one called Mallard. Now this hasn't got the ball band on it at the moment because I have started knitting it, and I will show it shortly. When I get to my new cast-ons, I will show you this one knitted up. So this is the Mallard colourway, and again blues and browns and greens, which makes me think actually that a lot of the other ones I've chosen will be fine. Well, he's seen them all as well, and he was just like, yeah, great. There was nothing that he went, oh my gosh, what's that? No thank you. He was just like, yeah, fabulous, thank you very much. So yes, I have started a pair in the Mallard colourway, so I will show that to you in a little bit when I show you my new cast-ons. Anyway, all of this sock yarn arrived, and I was very excited because I bought new yarn, but I felt that I could justify buying it because it wasn't for making things for me. And I was like, oh, I'll pick out some scraps that I've got, part used balls that I've got that I can use for heels, toes and cuffs. But when I looked where I thought those were, I couldn't find very much. There was a couple of balls, but nowhere near as much as I thought, so I don't know what's happened to the rest of it. So back I went online, and this time I went onto eBay and I ordered from a shop called, I think it's called the Little Wool Shop, and they were selling on eBay, and I bought some plain colours, just 50-gram balls. That's why I didn't get them from Nibbles, Needle and Hooks, because they were all 100-gram balls. So I thought I'd get 50-gram balls. I was thinking of something like Drops Fable or something like that. But actually what I've got is Signet Woolrich, which I have used before. Signet Woolrich, and they do quite a lot of, well, not that many, but they do a number of sort of solid plain colours. So this colourway is 2137, and it's kind of like a denim blue. That might actually be what it's called. These are 75% wool, 25% polyamide. So I've got this sort of denim blue, and then I've got this, in fact I'm sure that was called denim blue. This one is olive green. If you bear in mind the colours that I've bought in the stripes, etc., these are all going to go really well, I think. This one is a brown colour. I can't remember what this one was called. It's 2693. And this one is a purple, but it's a dark purple. I think I thought it was darker when I looked at it online. It's colour 104, but it is a relatively dark purple. So these are going to be great for heels, toes and cuffs. I have to say, I have got a few other part balls, and the sun's coming out, which is lovely, but we are going to get some interesting patterns on my head, etc. now, I think. So yeah, so I think these are going to go really nicely. So for example, that brown potentially. Oh, actually no, I don't think I like that brown with that. What's that one going to go with? Maybe that brown with that, possibly. Maybe the brown's not a good one to start with. Let's have a look at the green. What could the green go with? Green could go with that quite nicely. Or the green could go with that. Ooh. Or the green could go with that. Or the purple could go with that, because we said there was a little bit of purple in that one. Or the purple could go with that. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to let him choose. I'm going to let him choose each time. So once I've got one pair finished, he can then choose the next ball main skein, and then we'll work out what's going to go with that. Right, I'll pop all of these back away, and then I will show you some finished objects. Okay, so the first finished object I'm going to show you is actually a pair of socks that I finished just a couple of days ago. And these are the socks for my February make-along. Well, for my year-long make-along, but they're the socks for February. And the make-along that I'm hosting is the Your Socksy and You Know It make-along. I'm sure lots of you are aware of that make-along. If you follow the podcast, you'll definitely be aware of it, because it's the second year that we've been doing it. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I am going to be drawing a prize winner in a few minutes from the January thread. So if you have entered the January thread on Ravelry, then I will be drawing a prize from that shortly. And if you're interested in joining in the make-along, if you've got a pair of socks that you started from the 1st of February, you have still got time to the end of March to enter those in the make-along. And if you cast on a new pair of socks from the 1st of March, you will have till the end of April to enter those. So anyway, here are my February socks. These are using West Yorkshire spinners. The colourway is Hidden Gem. And I am pleased with these. I said when I first started them I wasn't sure, because I didn't really like the way that they striped, but I am actually quite happy with them, probably because they're purple, which is my favourite colour, and so the purple means I can forgive anything else. So yes, these have come out really nicely. I've been knitting these socks for my make-along on 2.5mm needles, just 60 stitches, 2x2 rib, and then just plain vanilla stocking stitch, heel flap and gusset, the sort of standard rounded toe, and that just means that I've always got a pair of socks on the needles that are just mindless and don't have to think about it. So this year as well, I'm not using contrast colours for heels, toes and socks. I am just using as much of the sock yarn as I can by doing it like this. So this took 57 grams and I've added that into my stash busting statistics. I will go through those as well at some point during the podcast. When I've shown all the finished objects, I'll talk about the stash busting statistics for February. Okay, so before I show any more finished objects, shall we draw a prize winner? The last winner, so the December socks giveaway, the winner got in touch with me. They've had a pattern prize, so I have sent that and sorted that. The November winner, I don't think they ever got in touch with me, so I'm going to be sure nobody got in touch with me for November. So I'm going to be offering the same yarn again, which is one out of my stash, which is Wendy Rome. And so I'm going to draw from January. There are 92 entries in the January thread on Ravelry. So I'm going to ask my smart speaker to pick a number between 1 and 92. Choose a number between 1 and 92.
Here's a number between 1 and 92. It's 87.
Okay. So 87, these are the winning entries for January, and this is from Harp Trot, HARPTROTT, and they are in Kentucky in America. Okay, so if you want to get in touch with me, it will be a pattern prize, because I'm afraid I'm not posting prizes out internationally just because of the cost of that. The cost of that is often almost like twice as much as the ball of stock yarn costs. Okay, so if you get in touch with me though, Harp Trot, message me on Ravelry and I can send you a pattern prize. Right, in that case I am going to draw again from the November thread, because I'm pretty sure we've never had a winner or contact me from the November thread. So let's do that and see if we get a UK winner from November. If it's not UK though, we will do another prize pattern. Choose a number between 1 and 50.
Here's a number between 1 and 50. It's 49.
Okay, so number 49 is Deb Lane. Now, I think that Deb Lane is in the UK. Doesn't say on here, but I think that they are. Okay, so this was the winning entry. Okay, number 49. So if you get in touch with me, Deb Lane 65. If you get in touch with me, I will get that out in the post to you. Okay, all right, so hopefully they will get in touch. Right, so what I am going to do now is I am going to open my yarn for March. Today is the 1st of March. I have got 12, or I started the year with 12 balls of yarn packaged up, and so this is number 3. So this will be the yarn that I use for the Socks and You Know It socks for March. So let's see what we've got. Oh, it's a Christmas one. Okay, well that will be fine. Yeah, so it is a head over heels, Stylecraft head over heels, in the colourway Vixen. Okay, so this will be a Christmassy pair. So I may well cast those on today, because I am going out later and I need a simple sock project or a simple knitting project that doesn't involve any concentration, so getting those cast on and taking those could be perfect. Right, so my second finished object for this month is another pair of socks. I promise I have got more things than socks this month, honestly, but it is another pair of socks. Ta-da! And these are also for a make-along. These are for the Cozy Toes make-along that is being run by the lovely Roro and Kate. And so these are a sock pattern by Roro and Kate. They are the Storm Seeker socks. Now I've done these in a large size because I've actually done these to give away to the Marie Curie sock quest, which is run by a doctor who works in a Marie Curie hospice, and she every year she tries to collect as many pairs of hand knitted socks in yellow, because that's the Marie Curie colour, and she gives them away to patients who are having hospice care over Christmas. So I'm really, really pleased I've got these finished, and as I say, I did specifically do a large size, so so that they are maybe go to a man. And I think also they usually have fewer pairs of large socks donated. So this is in a truly hooked sock yarn, which was, I think it was called Fizzbanger, just a standard 75%, 25%, but it is hand dyed yarn. And so yes, I will be donating those. And then my third finished object is this. It is a cowl, and I knitted most of this in the space of 2 days at the Northwest Winter Wool Festival a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really pleased with how this turned out. It is just stocking stitch with a few rows with sort of like an eyelet effect, and I put on my Insta stories a couple of days ago, I put a picture of this and asked people's opinion on whether I should get this written up and publish it as a pattern, and the vast majority of people said yes. I guess most people who think no aren't probably going to vote anyway, but lots of you did vote, say yes, do it. So I'm going to look at getting that done at some point. Say at some point because I'm not quite sure when. At the moment things have been very busy and are going to continue to be very busy, I think, at the moment. Anyway, so I'm really pleased with how this knitted up. It is using DK weight sock yarn, one that I dyed myself. I think it's the Abbotsea colourway that I've used here. And yeah, really pleased with how it's turned out. So I'm really pleased with it. I'm going to call it the Northwest Cowl, because as I say, I came up with it and knitted most of it at the Northwest Winter Wool Festival, so I'm just going to call it the Northwest Cowl. And yeah, I am actually really pleased with it. So those are all my finished objects for this month, or for this last couple of weeks. I have got some new cast-ons and also, whips. Let's just do quickly whips. So one of the whips that I've been working on a lot is the Mystical Lanterns blanket. I'm not going to show that again today. I've shown it pretty much every podcast so far this year, so I'm going to give it a break for the next few podcasts, but I am still working away on it. I think I've done about 40 lanterns on it in February, so we're going to keep working on that. But I have also been working on a garment. Now this is a colour work vest, and I said last podcast that I was struggling to get very much done on it because of just brain space, because it does take concentration, and I am really sorry that now, let me move a minute, is that maybe a bit, no, maybe I just need to sit forward a little bit because the sun's coming out, which is lovely, but we're getting, and I can't do anything. I've got skylights and there's no blinds or anything like that, so I don't know what to do. Maybe if I move that way a little bit. Oh, I don't know. All right, okay. So this is the Nancy vest, and I have done a bit more since you last saw this 2 weeks ago. Well, it's less than 2 weeks ago, to be fair, about 10 days ago. I have managed to do this. My plan had been to try to finish the front by the end of February. Clearly that has not happened. I still haven't got to the armhole shaping yet, although I am quite close to that now. I think once I do the next set of hearts, once I've done those hearts, I will be at the armhole shaping. But I don't want to rush it and mess it up, so I'm not going to set myself massive targets on this in respect of saying I need to complete this much by this deadline, because if I'm not in the right mood for it, I'm going to make mistakes. but it is knitting up absolutely beautifully. So we'll just keep going at it on the good days, which there aren't many at the moment. I don't mean that's not fair. It's not like I'm not having good days, but I'm not having good days for knitting colour work. Really, yeah, anything that's complicated. In the evenings, I'm tired from work, and at weekends recently as well, I've been super busy. So yeah. And then the third project that I have been working on that's not finished are crochet blocks for another blanket that I'm doing. And with this one, I am using the mini skeins from my mystery club. And last time you saw this, I think maybe I'd finished 3 squares, and now I have done all 4 of them for January. These are my January squares, and I really, really love them. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. So these are from the Little Likac Mystery Club, which is all based around Agatha Christie stories. This was the first one, which was The Mysterious Affair at Styles. And I've just got literally 2 or 3 grams of each one left. So it's worked out really, really well to do 4 squares. I haven't started February's yet. And I'm going to be dyeing March's colourways very, very soon actually. These were February's, so I need to get those wound up because I would like to do the next 4 squares with those colours. I am using a 3.75mm crochet hook, and I'm using the DK minis for this, and absolutely so pleased because I'm not a great crocheter. Knitting, I'm far more experienced at knitting and far more confident with my knitting, so I'm so pleased to be doing these squares. They're all the same, and the squares are coming from this book, 200 Crochet Blocks, and the square that I'm using I think is 189, which is this one, the Willow square. And I'm really pleased with myself for how neatly these are coming out. Really pleased with myself for how the colours have come out. I think this colour in particular really complements with these colours that came before it. And then, as I say, we're going to have these blues. I do know roughly what the colours are going to be for March. I don't think I'm going to sew the squares, well, I may sew the squares together in respect that I might sew these 4 together as a block of 4, 2 by 2, and then sew the February ones as 2 by 2, but I may not decide on the full placement then of the blocks until I've done them all. So yes, very, very happy with how they have come out. So now we're going to move on to some new cast-ons. I'm over here trying to avoid the light. It's not going very well, is it? So yes, we're going to come to some new cast-ons. So what have I got to show? Shall I show you? I'll show you the mallard socks first. So after I'd bought all of that sock yarn for my husband, I said to him, right, here's all of the sock yarn. Which one would you like me to knit your first pair of socks from? And so he said the mallard, and so I said, right, I think I know which colour I'm going to put with that, and I chose that colour to go with it, which is the amber colourway from West Yorkshire Spinners, and I used this colour for heels, toes and cuffs on his socks that I knitted him at Christmas. So I said, yeah, I think these two, and he went, yeah, like that, happy with that. And yeah, it is knitting up fabulously, and I think I'm pretty much at the point ready to do the heel, which will be heel, flap and gusset. And here is the mallard colourway knitted up. So I think that is knitting up really nicely. I like this sort of almost like a burnt orange. It's not, doesn't match with that brown, but it complements that brown really nicely. And yeah, he really likes how they're knitting up as well. So I normally knit my socks to have a 6-inch leg, and the way I measure that is I use my sock needle. Now my husband, a little bit taller than me, I'm going to just do another couple of stripes, I think. So it might be actually that I do 6 inches from the cuff to the heel. So yeah, maybe got about another inch left to do. So that is knitting up really, really nicely. I'm really happy with it. He's really happy with it. I'm knitting these on 2.25mm needles, 72 stitches, 2x2 rib. I think I did 15 rows of the rib for his cuffs, whereas I do about 10 to 12 rows on mine. And then, as I say, it's going to be about 6 inches of leg after the cuff. So that is coming on really well. So let me just tell you then a little bit about the statistics for February. So I have got a plan to try to have less stash or less yarn in my stash by the end of the year than at the start of the year. More out than in. Now the outgoing yarn, some of it is knitted and crocheted, hopefully most of it, but I did also do a little bit of a de-stash. I did get rid of some. I gave some away to friends. I gave some to the charity shop. Now I did that in January. I gave away a lot, which meant I had got a lot out of my stash in January. In February I still had a little bit left that I gave actually to my mum, which was about 1,000, maybe 1,200 metres that I gave away to my mum. And then obviously I have bought a lot of sock yarn, but it's not too bad overall. Let me just tell you the figures, I've got them written down. So in February, I did still put out of my stash 2,057 metres. As I say, about half of that went to my mum, just as in giving her balls of wool. But the rest has been knitted or crocheted, so 2,057 metres. Now there is more, it's 3,445. So in February there has been an increase of 1,388 metres. But I'm okay with that because I bought a lot of sock yarn on purpose. And I would hope that I will knit at least half of that during this year for socks for my husband. So I'm okay with that. And overall, I am still at a massive loss in a good way. So my overall statistics are that I have still got rid of, lost 11,635 metres more than I have put into the stash. So I'm still absolutely fine with that. So although February was a little bit of an increase in stash, overall we are still on a massive decrease. So that's good, that's fine. And like I say, all of that yarn that I bought was bought specifically for making socks for my husband, rather than just random, oh I like that, that's pretty. Yes, I know that at the Northwest Winter Yarn Festival I did buy a skein of yarn which was pretty much, that's very pretty, but that was just one skein. It was only, and it was DK, it was only 225 metres. So, you know, I think I'm doing pretty well. Alright, another new cast on, and also when this one gets finished, this should take quite a bit of stash out of my yarn, and it shouldn't take me too long to finish. So I have two colleagues who are having babies. One who is having a baby in April. She does not know the gender of the baby, so I decided to crochet a blanket in neutral colours, and I decided to try and use some of the Serdar Snuggly yarn which I bought last year, where I bought a huge amount, something like 50 balls of yarn, simply because it was heavily reduced and Serdar kept sending me emails and I couldn't resist. But they did say that it was seconds quality, and although it's labelled as DK yarn, this is much more like 4-ply, perhaps sport weight. It's kind of like a light sport weight, heavy 4-ply / fingering. So if you hold it double, it comes out at slightly bigger than DK, comes out at about worsted. So anyway, I am holding it double and I am doing this baby blanket. So this is a neutral one. And it was a case of just using colours I had got, because obviously I didn't want to buy something. So I'm using this one, which is actually, I think, hang on. I've got the colourways. I'm using my lovely bag that was made for me out of my felted jumper. So the colourway names, have we got some of the colourway names? Yes. There's the same one again. Right. Okay, so yes, this one is just called Cream. The one that's in the middle is Cream. Oh, let's put it right way around. So the one in the middle is Cream. Then we've got Soft Brown, which is this dark. And then this one, which we've got again here, is called Biscuit. So I'm holding them all double. The pattern I'm doing is called the 12-Point Star Blanket by Bella Coco. It does have, that pattern is a free pattern on a blog, which is what I'm using, or I used to get started. But I think there are videos, in fact I'm sure there are video tutorials available on this pattern as well. So the fact that I'm holding it double, and it's going to be a baby blanket, so I don't know how big it's going to be exactly, but I'm going to just keep going really to a certain degree. I might just keep going till I've used up all of the brown yarn that I've pulled out for it, and we'll see what size it is then. So that will use up quite a bit of yarn hopefully, as I say, because I'm holding it double as well. And this needs to be finished in the next few weeks because my colleague will be going on maternity leave shortly. And then I have another colleague who is due a baby in July. She knows that she's having a little boy. I have got some blues in this yarn as well. So once I finish this one, I might give myself a little break, but then I suspect April, May time, I will cast on or start probably the same pattern, using some of the blues for the baby boy that is due. So that's coming on really nicely, should be finished. I hope by the next time I podcast in a couple of weeks' time it will be finished, because I would like to get it finished. Yeah, well yes, because say baby's due in April, I'm not sure exactly if it's late April. So yeah, so hopefully we'll get this finished in a couple of weeks' time. Alright, and so the only other kind of last project to show you, I don't know if I have shown you this before, I know I've spoken about it before, it's the dusting of frost socks. And I've got a feeling I showed you this before and I have not made any more progress on it because other things got in the way. This is the next sock for the Cozy Toes knit along from Row and Kate, and all I've done is the rib, and I'm pretty sure I've shown you that previously. So this is using my yarn, the Frosted Berries colourway. That has just literally sold out again actually in the shop. If I get a chance, I'm planning on doing some dyeing tomorrow. It may be, we'll have to look at the time scales that I've got tomorrow, but it may be that I dye up some more. So it's this grey sparkling with pinks and purples in it, with this purple mini skein. So the Dusting of Frost sock pattern is an absolutely beautiful pattern. Kelly has done an amazing job on that pattern. It is lace work and it does take a bit of concentration. So it's another pattern though. There's 2 months to finish it, so I really do need to make a start on that. But again, I need the brain space to get started on it. I'm hoping that once I've got, you know, the leg done on the first sock, hopefully by that point the lace pattern will be established in my brain. But yeah, I need that brain space to make sure I'm concentrating when I first start it. But hopefully next time that I podcast, I will have a lot more to show you on that. Right, so I said to you at the beginning of the podcast that I was going to talk a bit about why I had such a busy week, and it's been a fabulous week. So the last time I did a podcast, I'd just come back from the Northwest Winter Wool Festival. I then had half term, and honestly the first few days after that festival I was just crashed out. Then I went down to my mum and dad's house and spent the day with them, took some wool down to my mum. And then I was just really preparing for going back to work. And then so this week just gone has been my first week back. And I had booked tickets for us to go to see The Importance of Being Earnest at the cinema on Tuesday night. But it was one of those cinema screenings where it's a screening of a live theatre performance, and it was done by the National Theatre. And they had Ncuti Gatwa playing Algernon, which is one of the main characters, and they had just a fabulous cast. And we went on Tuesday night. I wouldn't normally go out very much during the week, although I was saying this to my husband that a few years ago, when both the girls, our daughters, both were still at home and they were teenagers, every single night of the week I was taking them to places, picking them up, dropping them off, waiting for them. So I would go out nearly every evening. But the last few years that stopped happening. The girls don't live here anymore, and even the last couple of years when my youngest daughter was here, she had her own car. So I'm just out of that habit. So I'm so tired this week, and I was like, how did I used to do that? How did I used to go out every single night doing things? But anyway, so Tuesday night we went to the theatre, to the cinema, but it kind of felt like we were at the theatre. It was fabulous production. Got home, I don't know, maybe sort of only 10, half 10, and I do sit up late. It's not like I go to bed early. So that was really good. And then Friday night I already had plans, but on Thursday night I actually ended up getting tickets to be in the audience of BBC Question Time, which, if you don't live in Britain, you may not know what that is. If you do live in the UK, it's probably a good chance you know what it is, although younger viewers might not. My students thought it was a quiz because it was called Question Time. But yeah, it is actually a politics show where you get a chance to, or the audience gets a chance to ask questions with a panel of people that usually have one or two politicians on it, and then other politically motivated or politically aware. So it might be people who come from charities or academics or business people. And yeah, so they travel around the country, or the programme travels around the country, so that they can ask in different parts of the country. They can ask that audience from that part of the country, what's important to you? What do you want to question politicians about? So really, it was only a week before I had put in a request for tickets because they were coming to Derby. And so I only knew that I was going to be going on that show, or going to the audience, going to the filming of that show at relatively last minute. So on Thursday, I went straight there after work, and they normally film at a certain time, but because it was the day when Sir Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, was visiting Donald Trump, the US President, they kind of waited to film it a little bit later in the evening than they usually do, because they wanted to see if there was anything important going to be said from that meeting, and they wanted to be able to react to it straight away. So there was a lot of waiting around, and even when they were filming they kept sort of pausing, and Fiona Bruce, the presenter, was listening. Right, has anything been said? Have they had the press conference yet? Okay, right, we'll carry on for a bit. So it was, perhaps we were there later than they said we were going to be, but it was a great experience. I don't want to get into, I don't use the podcast to talk politically. I am a political person. I do have very strong political views, but equally, and if I think something's very important, I will comment on it, but not on the podcast, because that's not what, you might not be political, you might not be interested in politics, you might not have the same political views as me. And I will be honest, if I watch a podcast and somebody gives strong political views and they're not what I agree with, it can absolutely put me off watching them, because I don't want to hear those political views. So I'm not going to talk about my political views, but I am a very political person, and I did find it very, very interesting. I did put forward a couple of questions. Unfortunately, I wasn't picked to ask those questions, although one of the questions that was asked was pretty much the same question as I had asked, just a very slightly different angle. So I did still get to hear the opinions on one of the questions I would have asked. And yeah, it was really, really interesting. But obviously the build up to that, I was excited about going all day. I kept thinking about it. So I was really, really tired. And then last night, Friday night, I was helping out at school. Our school had a production, musical theatre production that they were doing. It was fabulous. And I say I was helping out. I really wasn't doing very much. I was just helping greet parents as they came in, showed them where the theatre was, sold raffle tickets, and was a fire marshal. And all that really means is I get a free ticket to sit and watch the show. And honestly, our school shows are amazing. The talent is fantastic. So I really enjoyed that. But again, it meant coming home later. So this week, you know, I've not been home and sort of sat down on the sofa till 10 o'clock at least 3 nights this week. So that's really cut into my knitting time as well. Although I did take my I took socks to knit at the cinema. I could have knitted socks while I was waiting around at question time, although I don't think security would have let them in, so I didn't I didn't take them because obviously there was very tight security. So I didn't even attempt to take those, but there was quite a lot of waiting around, and there was a couple of times when I thought I could be knitting while I'm waiting. And obviously I didn't knit at the school show. Again, I would have been able to easily, I can watch, but I didn't want the students to think that I wasn't focusing or concentrating, and I didn't want anyone to think that that I wasn't focused 100% on the show. So yes, very, very tired. Tonight as well, I am going out again, and this time I'm going to a yarn shop in Nottingham. They are hosting a cheese and wine evening, and I'm going with a couple of friends, and very much will be taking a knitting project to that. So as I say, I'm planning on getting these cast on. We are actually getting the bus over to Nottingham, so I will get these cast on the bus, get the ribbing done, and hopefully by the time I've had a glass of wine or two with the cheese and wine, hopefully I'll be at the stocking stitch stage. So yes, it's been busy. Tomorrow is the 2nd of March. I will be dyeing the club colours for March tomorrow. And yeah, thank you so much if you have ordered anything from me again in the last few weeks. The Likac shop is just going from strength to strength, and I really, really appreciate it. And thanks very much for watching the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. If you have, please give us a like, a comment, a thumbs up, anything like that. If you're not already a subscriber, please do subscribe, and I will see you again in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.